Welcome to Channel X TV, sponsored by Volo, and delighted to be joined today by Umer Paracha from Topsort to talk all things retail media and specifically marketplaces retail media. So, welcome, Umer. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you letting me join this call, Chris. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Now, just for those that don't know you, just give us a brief history of your background and how you came to be at Topsort.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So my experience in retail media and e-commerce spans across 15 years. I was one of the original people that started an e-commerce marketplace in Pakistan called Daraz, and that got sold to Alibaba in 2018. And how I joined Topsort is it's an interesting story. So I consulted one of the co-founders when they were launching a brand on Amazon, and that was Regina Ye, and we met 5 years ago. And she went on a different path, and I went on a different path, and then we connected again about a year and a half ago. And that she mentioned that, hey, she's about to disrupt the retail marketplace. She had frustrations across when she was launching a brand on those marketplaces. And yeah, and then I joined Regina and the team about a year ago, and been here since then. And we can get into Tops or what it does a bit later on, but yeah, it's been a great journey so far.
And where were you just before Topsort? What were you doing for the last couple of years?
So a bunch of things. Before Topsort, I was working at a brand called Lansano, which is a leading maternal health company. It's about a $200 million maternal health company globally. It's a CPG brand, so very well versed inside the launching brands on Amazon, maximizing them through ad channels, Walmart, Target. So I was there for about 6.5 years.
So I want to talk Amazon because Prime Day is coming up, and typically it's the time that brands up their ad spending to boost, basically to boost sales, but also brand awareness on the platform, and gathering as many days as sales as possible while Prime Day is running. So, have you got any tips for retailers selling on Prime Day? Do they really need to be spending the money? And if they are, strategically, what are the best ways of actually spending? And should it be sponsored brand or should it be sponsored product, for example?
Great question. And when I was on the brand side, we would ask this question every Prime Day. Every year, we would have a goal to beat last year's Prime Day, and we accomplished that. Right? Couple of things. Right? I do think Prime Day is a great avenue for especially new brands that are coming in that space to get their visibility, because I think the revenue is about $34 billion that Amazon makes in totality of their ad platform. And Prime Day, I think they make a decent chunk of that through like two Prime Days, and that's why they kind of opened up a secondary Prime Day in US in November now. Uh, so I do think like Prime Day is a great avenue for brands to really start getting marketing there and also get that presence, because the amount of shoppers that come on Amazon on Prime Day is just multiplying, right? Uh,
Mm.
the question really comes in is like, how do you budget yourself? How do you pace yourself where you stay on the platform? How do you make sure that Prime Day becomes more profitable for you versus, trying to throw a random deal out there to get the attention, right? How do you budget yourself where you kind of have a right mix of the deal plus, how do you run your ads on, that stay on throughout the day, so you get that visibility, you get that fighting chance against like a very big brand like P&G, right? So say for example, you are a small household brand. Uh, Interesting enough, I think you want to get on the platform, if you're just starting to get on the platform from a brand perspective, about 3 to 4 months before even Prime Day hits up. I don't think Amazon lets you market on Prime Day
Mm.
if you're very freshly new.
Yeah,
Uh,
the products have got to be established with a sales history. Otherwise, they won't even let you do a prime discount.
Right, exactly. And yeah, I think it's a great avenue for brands to get their presence as well as make profitable dollars on those 2 days. There is.
So I think one of the challenges with Prime Day is that to get a deal, you've got to be giving a deep discount, and not everyone can do that. But I know there's also the halo effect that even if you're not giving a discount, people are shopping, so they might buy your product. So I'd like to focus on those two things. But the question number one is, if I've got a deal, should I also be using sponsored products to promote that deal? And if I've not got a deal, what should my strategy be there?
Okay, so that is a very interesting question. So, a couple of things, right? One thing is that if you're not on sponsored products, you're not going to get visibility, right? It's very tough unless you're ranking organically at a very high spot on page one. It's going to be very tough for you to get any visibility on your
And
product.
even page one, the first 4, 5, 6 results are normally sponsored products. They're advertising products.
Yeah, I think, and I think the placements have like 9 spots now, which is sponsored brand, a video now also showing up on sponsored brand and the product, then sponsored product listings, which are like 2 to 3 at times. Then in the middle, a video comes in again, another video ad comes in, and then another bottom, and then there's a bottom sponsored product as well, right? And then when you go inside a PDP, there's also sponsored product listings as well of your competitors sometimes as well, right? So it is a play per pay game now. So if you look at the CPM levels, right, they're about $25 to $30, and compare that towards Meta or Meta or Google, which hover around $8 to $12, right? So it is a premium price point, but I still think if you have if it costs you like $5 for for a sale and you're selling a high AOV item, uh, then it's worth it, right? So it really depends on your product price point, right? As well as your volumes that you're pushing, right? And there's many ways that smaller brands can really also kind of get that. They can definitely leverage Facebook ads to drive towards the PDP listing. They don't have to pay the premium price point, and that goes directly towards the PDP page. And if there's a good deal on, consumers will want that, especially when we are going towards like a looming recession. I wouldn't say we're in a deep recession right now. Like, consumer spending has stopped. One interesting thing that we see is when COVID hit, multiple pack sizes was the way to go, right? People were launching bulk packs, like toilet paper was running out of stock. Uh,
Yeah,
people were launching.
I'll buy 48 toilet rolls instead of 9.
So, but recently, over the last 4 to 5 months, that is shifting back again to lower pack sizes. So now it's becoming even more difficult for brands. Pricing of the ads have not gone down. Amazon keeps increasing their fulfillment costs, their ad unit pricing, uh, and consumers' demands are less as well, right? So now the consumers are shifting from a higher pack size to a lower pack size. So basically, you're paying now an even higher premium for a sale versus what you were like 2-3 years ago during COVID. Uh, so it's getting more difficult because that's the part that we're trying to understand is, like, if you look at a cost per click over the last 10 years, it is going to be a hockey stick curve on Amazon's platform. I think it started off at like 30 cents and it's now up to like $4 to $5 for some brands over the last 7 years.
So when I'm looking at my budget and I'm thinking Prime Day, I've obviously got a certain amount of margin in the product. How much of that margin should I assign to discount and how much should I reserve for advertising? Let's say I've got $100 product and I can set aside $30 for discount stroke advertising. Should I be doing sort of $25 discount and $5 advertising, or $20 discount, $10 advertising? Is there sort of somewhere in the middle, a happy medium?
So that's a great question. It really depends on like the life cycle of the product. Well, is it a first time purchase? Is it a reoccurring product, right? Can you take a you know can you take a hit on this product, but then that this is a lifetime value product that consumers are going to keep buying it? But let's say, for example, it's $100 product. It's a one-time purchase. You want to be profitable on your first purchase. I would say it's safe to take about 20% of your MSRP, of your revenue, of your the sale of the product dedicated towards your marketing. I think you can scale pretty well if it stays between the 15-20% cost of a 15-20% of an ACOS, right, an advertising cost of a sale. You can pretty much, like, as long as you're making about 15-20% EBITDA net profit, uh, and you can monitor that. I think the biggest thing is monitoring your net EBITDA. I remember one thing we used to do at the brand I worked with is we had real-time dashboards, right? We would look at our, our advertising cost, our cogs of the unit, our shipping cost, our, even we would even put like, our tools cost in there, right? And then see what is our net EBITDA profit. And hey, if $1 in gets me always $10 back out, and I'm always at a net positive EBITDA, you know, there's no reason that I wouldn't invest in this channel then, right? There's no reason I can't scale this up. So I think it's safe to say to take 15 to 20% of your uh, MSRP price as the cost that you could spend on this product for advertising.
Yeah, and for those that are the sort of new to market brands, what is their best strategy to get cut through? I mean, you could say give a discount on the product, but if it's a product I've never heard of and I'm not going to search for, it's kind of hard to get it in front of me. So they're probably going to have to go down the advertising route. But what sort of investment should be thinking of there? Is it the same sort of 15 to 20%, or should they think of even more marketing budget?
That's a great question. So a couple of things, right? One thing is before they even start advertising, make sure your listing is fully optimized, right? Like I would say go out and get 100 reviews on your product, friends and family, sell your product, give it out. There's many Facebook groups out there that you can give your product out for free, and, give people can leave an honest review. So get your listing as fully optimized as possible, because there's no point in running advertising when you have 0 reviews. Your conversion rate might not be that high, right? So first thing is get that going, right? Get your 100 reviews, get your listing optimized, make sure there's a video in your product, it explains it well. Once that is done, then start targeting a niche. One thing I typically do is I look at, Google keywords to see what are the high volume keywords that, are not that costly and maybe are targeted towards a niche, and use those keywords on Amazon ads. At the end of the day, human psychology is the same. They're searching the same keyword on Amazon as well as on Google, right? So
Yeah.
take that and use that data towards your advantage and go on Amazon, have a fully optimized listing, and start small, right? Start off with, maybe like $50 a day, right? See what's working, where you're getting the best return on your dollar spent, right? And then once you find that, that sponsored product is working really well for you between 8 to 10 p.m., go niche even with daytime partying, right? If you're getting the best traction, your new brand, start off by running ads from 8 p.m. at night to 11 p.m. at night instead of the whole day, right? Your shoppers are sitting there. I'll give you an example. Say, for example, probiotic drinks are really in trend right now, right? And your new brand, start off by running sponsored ads around 8 p.m. to like 11 p.m., right? Maybe that's the time where people are on their phone. They want, they want to drink at night. Like, so really go niche a bit, and again, rely on data, how it helps you out.
So far, we've talked about Amazon, but they are a big marketplace, but they're not the only one out there. And we're seeing so many retailer brand sites now opening their own marketplace. I mean, in the UK, everyone from Tesco's, Boots, B&Q, Debenhams, they're all marketplaces now. As these newer marketplaces or lesser known retail marketplaces start to add retail media opportunities, what can they do to make it a better experience both for themselves and for the sellers on their marketplaces? And I'm thinking that the biggest complaint I often hear about the large Amazon, eBay, Walmart marketplaces is the sheer cost of advertising and the fact that you have to advertise or you're not going to get visibility. So what lessons can the new retail marketplaces learn from the big guns?
That's a phenomenal question, and I think it's an important to cover. Is I one thing is that a lot of these new marketplaces, or not a lot of marketplaces transitioning into a new revenue channel, is not separate out that channel with their commerce section, right? So Amazon separates their ad unit differently than their 3P seller unit. And that's where it really hurts the brands, right? Because they are negotiating, the 3P seller units are negotiating, 20% margins, higher cost. And then the ad units are also kind of increasing their costs, their cost for advertising. And at the end, the small guy's getting hurt, the brand is getting hurt, right? At the end, you're like, I have no money remaining now. Is this even worth it, me running on Amazon, right? So that's one piece, is not diluting out your like your units, and kind of operating as with one account manager versus like 3 or 4 account manager in different departments, right? That's what Amazon did when I was running with the brand. I think if Tesco's launching one thing, they can have one account manager that understands the business goals of the brand and really works with the brand on getting the best outcome from their marketplace, right? So that's one piece, is not diluting out your departments and keeping one single department that understands fulfillment to ads as well. And then the second piece is like just seller education. I'll give Amazon a big hands off. Like, they did very well in their seller education of launching ad monetization and launching ads. Brands like Tesco and these other marketplaces, and especially in Europe, they can have a unit that kind of, when you launch up, like, what is your onboarding experience? How do you get the most out of it, right? One thing Topsort does is that, when we launch with a retailer, or when we launch with a marketplace, we provide the marketplace like guidance, like an onboarding system to help out their clients as well, right? Go ahead.
I should have asked earlier, Umer. Tell us a little bit about Topsort and what you guys actually do.
Yeah, great. So, I'll give a little plug in for Topsort as well. So Topsort is empowering marketplaces to start ad monetization. That's our main focus, is how do we enable marketplaces to find another channel of revenue, right? So they can get to profitability much faster. And then at the same time, how do we give the smaller brands a chance as well, right? Most marketplaces are using some sort of an algorithm for page one ranking based on sales velocities and, like a ranking system, right? Uh, for a new brand coming in, they have 0 sales, right? So how do they get on page one? And that is a big advantage, not only to the retailer of like from a revenue perspective, but to the brand as well, right? That was the biggest concern that most brands have, is like, how do we get on page one when someone is searching for a tote bag? How do I get my bag on page one versus just sitting there on page 7 that no one's browsing? So that's one thing we do, is we provide a local technology for marketplaces to go from 0 to 1 within a few weeks, actually. They can spend millions of dollars in development, or they can join, start with Topsort and get up in within like a month or a month and a half.
So for anyone that's running a marketplace out there, give a look up to Topsort and see if they can power your retail media ads for you. But Umer, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure people will appreciate the tips, especially around Amazon Prime Day and how much of their budget to set aside for marketing. So thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Chris.